Welcome to Not What I Thought. I'm Erika.
I'm Yolanda.
And I'm Becca. We're therapists, entrepreneurs, and perfectly imperfect humans.
We first met during a business owner retreat where we became fast friends because we're not afraid to be real and ask the hard questions about life. What we thought it would be like, how messy it actually is, and the courage it takes to create the life we want.
We continue to build our friendship and personal growth through our own retreats. We find the deepest connection in sharing our struggles and finding what we have in common rather than what divides us.
We're breaking down hard topics on our podcast and together have conversations about what it takes to find real talk, real support, and real rest for professional women. We're glad you're here. Join us on your favorite podcast platform.
So today I was thinking about money. Money was on my mind. And I do enjoy listening to a lot of financial shows, podcasts, things like that. And I'm just thinking about how our money psychology doesn't necessarily change even when we start making more money. So I feel like there's this idea of, okay, like once I make X amount of dollars, whatever that is, then like everything's gonna be fine. I'm gonna be able to pay for everything. Not even gonna have to worry about anything. And yeah, that's not what I thought.
Say it louder for the people in the back. I'm like, oh boy.
That was so many topics. There's somewhat arbitrary, goal that we set. And if you actually ask people why, my mom and I were having a retirement conversation. It's like, well, why is this the number? I don't know, because that's what people tell you. But, I mean, that makes sense, but is that even what you need or what I need, or do we need different things?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So this is a big one. This is a big one. And I think, as we're talking, I'm hearing like the family of origin piece and also like the societal questioning piece, that where is this coming from? And then those blending together with this weight of like expectations that we put on ourselves. Am I getting them? Am I close?
All the things.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think it's impossible to separate our emotions and our family of origin stuff from
Yeah.
you know.
So what was the message for you growing up, Erika?
I was always pretty confused around money growing up, because the words were usually we can't afford that. That was pretty much like the first thing always. But then we either did get that or something significantly more expensive, or on the outside seeming to me significantly more expensive. So I found that to be quite confusing because can we afford it or we can't afford it? What does that mean? And how do we decide? So it's just kind of this, I think, I don't know, mess, amalgamation of a mess, like I don't know. I didn't get a clear idea there.
And then how did that impact you when you started making your own money and making financial decisions for yourself?
Well, I think one thing that my mom did well was teach me about credit cards and balancing a checkbook and those kinds of things. So I think on the micro level, or like the day to day, maybe is a better way to say that level, I feel like I had a pretty good basis understanding, but I didn't really understand long-term goals, investing, what makes sense, how to be smart with money until I decided to research it on my own. And that probably just comes from, in general, trying to figure out how to like take control over things in my life and figure out what makes sense and what doesn't. So that's usually my go-to is like, well, I don't know any about this, so I'm gonna watch 27,000 videos and read like 17 books, and then I'll decide what I should do next.
Yeah. I'm on this idea that like your psychology doesn't change with the more money that you earn. I remember pretty distinctly when I was growing my business, when I first started out, it was like I was working around small children and their preschool schedules and whatever. And the goal just to start out was like, I need the business to cover all of its expenses. And if the business could also pay my student loan payment, that would be awesome. And that was kind of it, but I wasn't really making any money to start out. And like, that was okay. That wasn't like, a conscious choice. And then, fast forward a couple of years, I'm now like hiring people and growing the business and whatever. And I don't recall how it happened, but I remember really distinctly like sitting there at my desk and having this realization that's like, oh, I have to figure this part out of how I actually make money doing this, because I can see if things don't change, I'm just going to have a bigger and bigger business where I continue to invest everything back into the business, but I'm not actually taking anything home. It's like some little switch flipped and, some connection made in my brain that I was like, oh, I got to figure out if it's a psychology thing, if I'm blocking myself from earning in some way, if like, I don't know what is going on, but it became really clear there. Like, I will just keep doing the same thing that I've been doing as I've grown this business and not earning much from it as it grows, because there won't be a time when it's like, oh, well, that's just this. Because I kept thinking of new ideas for how I could spend this extra money we were having that didn't include paying me, right? Things I could do for the people who were working for me or whatever.
Yeah. I'm thinking of like the really complex implicit messages that I learned growing up. Because similar to you, Erica, it was we can't afford it. And then like one parent would make purchases and hide it from the other parent and involve us and don't tell your other parent. So that was really confusing and complicated. And then the observation of the shifts in, I guess, earning potential between the experience I had growing up and my younger siblings had growing up, because there's a pretty significant gap in between each of us. There's like a, 5.5 year gap in between each of us. So I'm 11 years older than my youngest sister, and she had a very different financial experience, or, things, and the family's income was very different by the time she was growing up. So it is that, what do you have? What do you need? What are you choosing to spend your money on? Because I've found in very significant ways, as I have, come into maturity and adulthood, that I choose to spend, and my husband and I, we choose to spend our money very differently than family of origin.
And how does that play out? Do you get comments about that, or?
Yeah. From early on, it was like, oh, well, that's just not something that you care about, or just comments like that. And then it's also interesting because my mom really loves to give gifts, and they are lavish gifts. And sometimes the gifts are for me and they're lavish. And as the recipient of it, I'm like, oh my gosh, you spent how much money on this? So, something that isn't necessarily important to me. Could you have given me that cash? I would have used it I would have used it differently.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of shame that comes up around money. And for me, that shame has looked different over time, but I don't know that it's really gone away. It just appears in now a new, different place.
Yeah, what have you noticed about that? How has it looked different?
Well, I definitely used to have the shame of like, I'm not gonna have enough, I'm never gonna have enough, which I think was like fear-based, but would turn into shame of like, I'm not doing enough to earn this money. I haven't made the right choices. Definitely later, once I started learning more and running my business, I had more ability to invest in retirement. And as I was learning about that, you kind of learn about like compound interest and all the fun, dorky things. And, I was like, oh, well, now I'm in my 30s and still actually a great time to invest. But like, I'm learning I should have been doing that in my 20s because that's better. And, and it's like, well, okay, but we are where we are. We can't go back in time. And so just, start making the changes you need to make now. But there was a lot of working through that. I wish I had learned more. I wish I had done more. I wish I had researched this. I wish somebody told me, like all those kinds of.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's really what I'm thinking is like we don't have those no, we oftentimes we don't do it because we simply don't know. It's really interesting. Yeah.
I have so much of that. I wish I had known this earlier or done it differently, or like the amount that I took out in student loans for my grad program. It's like I thought that I was just doing what you do. And then after grad school, I looked at what my balance was and the reality of how long it was going to take me to pay that off and went, oh, I kind of wish I had done that differently, right? Because I could have, I don't know, just a whole lot of things. And also I should have started saving for retirement earlier. And yes, all of that. Yeah.
Which I know we've talked a lot about parenting in different episodes, but I think that's useful for, current parenting where you're like, okay, I'm going to do this one differently. I'm going to teach this. And then I think about, well, okay, yeah, I'm going to do this one differently and this one differently. But what are they going to be saying when they're older? I wish my mom had told me this. Like, there's going to be something.
There will be something.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Where's the therapy fund? That's that. But Erica, I was actually thinking the same thing, how this translates to how we've done things differently with our kids. And I don't know. I mean, they're in their 20s and investing and have stock and like all kinds of different things that I don't, when I was in my 20s, I didn't know that like there was, I mean, I knew there was a stock market, but that was like that thing that rich people do, And we definitely weren't rich.
Again,
But
again, your kids bring me hope. Like, oh, okay, good.
well, and I think that, it's different messaging from us. Like we've been more intentional about having the conversations in a different way than maybe we had them, or didn't have them growing up. And part of it is the school that they attended too, really brought conversation around it. So, I'm really thankful for that. It's a different way of talking about it than maybe previous generations.
I think that's so great if schools continue to implement that, right? And kind of teach people how to live realistically, what things are going to be important.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the early financial lessons that we taught our kids is it's not really how much you make, it's how much you spend. Finances 101. Let's start there.
Yes.
I think that is a big one. I've noticed for myself lately, I've gotten more, I don't know if shame's quite the right word, but I've become more anxious about sharing the things I'm doing in my life because I don't want to be perceived as somebody who's frivolous or showing off or bragging or spending too much money, that sort of a thing. So that's something that's been weighing on me lately.
Yeah, I was just wondering how it shows up for you now. Yeah. And how do you find yourself navigating through that when that anxiety comes up?
Avoidance, always the best tool.
Say it louder for the people in the back.
Avoidance is great until it's not.
Until it's not.
Now
Yeah.
I have these thoughts of like, okay, I'm gonna do this thing, but I'm just not gonna post about it, and then and I'll feel fine about that, right? Because I don't overly live on social media, but I won't feel bad.
Right.
But then I start thinking about my kids, we like to do our food reviews and we like to
Yeah.
post our pictures and do all of our things. And again, does it matter if it's on social media? No, but it's kind of part of
Hmm.
our culture as a family. It's kind of part of what we do.
Hmm.
But I feel like, okay, I'm taking away from them. So I'll go ahead and post, and then I don't get any mean comments or anybody saying anything. So then I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
it's fine. And then the next thing that happens, I'm like, well, I don't think I should post this. I'm just not
Yeah.
going to just do the whole thing again. I have found it's easier for me to go ahead and share things if my kids are involved. There's
Hmm.
been other things. I've done some home remodels and I've shared with the two of you, but I haven't
Hmm.
shared that anywhere. So I'm like, well, you know, that'll be something I fear I'll get comments about.
Hmm.
Must be nice, or
Hmm.
I saw somebody I used to work in retail with out and about in town, and she said something, and this is her personality, so it didn't really bother me, but it definitely, like, I had to sit for a second and think about it. But she was like, "Are you trying to set a world record for going to Disney?" And I was like, "I
Oh.
sure am." She was
Oh.
like, "Okay, but like seriously, how do you afford it?"
You,
Mm.
ouch, and like none of your damn business. And what 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 I appreciate about the friendship between the three of us, and something that each of you has said to me and I find so helpful, is, when I'm met with that, yeah, I mean, like, yikes. And also, we all have choices. We all have choices about how we earn money, what we spend it on, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and there's no right or wrong about,
Mhm.
about how we do or not do.
Yeah, it was so interesting because I was talking to my husband about this topic and asking him, because I feel he actually has quite a number of money blocks and things going on for him. I was like, okay, but where's the shame? And he was like, I don't think I experienced shame. And I was like, that can't be right. So I'm digging into that. And the more he was talking about it, I was like, you know what? I think this is true. I don't think he experiences a lot of shame, because he goes back
Mm,
to, there are things that are illogical for sure, but he goes
mm,
back to like, but we made this choice very intentionally, and we're doing the things that are important to us, meeting our needs and saving for retirement, and we're doing the things that are our goals. So this money, this is what it's for.
mhm,
So that's
Mhm.
okay.
mhm.
Yeah.
And how is that as a reminder for you?
I thought it was great. I was like, "Ah, who are you?" Because if you go back to the makeup wipe
We need an
episode,
episode reference for that one. Yeah.
we'll put that somewhere, but go
Yeah.
back to that one. Um,
Hmm.
and that still comes up for him, and it's still something he struggles with. Like if
Yeah.
you're out and about at I don't know, wherever you go, right, a weekend event with the kids, and they want to buy a totally unnecessary snow cone,
Hmm.
even though we just ate lunch or whatever it is, right? And it's like
Hmm.
he still has a hard time saying yes to that. That still feels
Mm.
painful.
Yeah.
And you're, well, come back to math. Like it's okay. That's what he has to do, though. He walks through the whole process.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter.
I think
What is
that
the primary emotion for you, Becca, that comes up? Sorry.
go ahead.
No, no, no. I was just wondering for you, what's your experience around money? Because
Oh,
Erica's identified shame and anxiety.
yeah, I have so many. We could talk about my money stuff for days.
Hmm.
Um, there's a lot of shame tied up in money for me, or has been historically, um, and a lot of fear too.
Hmm.
I've got a couple generations worth of just financial difficulty, financial ruin, bankruptcy, gambling
Hmm.
problems. Like there's a
Hmm.
lot of that that was very confusing to me growing up.
Hmm.
Um, and where I still sometimes will notice like, oh, something's hard, or I get, tense and tighten up, and I have to do the thing that Erika was saying her husband does, of like stopping and walking myself through, okay, but actually you have been saving for this. And so it's okay, right? This is the reason that you have an emergency fund, is so that you
Hmm.
can draw from it for, okay, that's right.
Hmm.
I'm fine, right? But I can very easily go to a place of feeling really tense And fearful that I will just lose everything. That's part of I'm always afraid that the bottom's going to drop out and I will lose everything. And I think this is probably a result of the gambling stuff. That wasn't mine. That was in my family when I was a child, but it's like, I alternately will be ashamed that I don't have as much money as my friends, but then I also feel shame when I have more than my friends. I get it kind of both sides, you know? Yeah, one of my very earliest memories about money is being told at Christmas that I needed to not share about how many gifts I got so that I wouldn't make other people feel bad. Like, you need to, you know, hold that back and maybe only say, you know, pick 2 of the things to say that you got, but not all of this, because this is like an embarrassment, basically. So that definitely like lives in me in a way too. Like I said, I feel it on both sides.
The shame just won't go away.
It just like, hello, money shame, there you are again. Hi.
Yeah.
Which I think really speaks back to this thing, like, there is no amount of earning more that is going to solve that for me. And even I can be in, it's not like my circumstances change that much. It's just like, if I hang out with this one group of friends, I'm going to feel a particular amount of shame. And if I hang out with a different group of friends on the same day, I'll feel a different kind of money shame. Because of my relative financial status, depending on the group. So I'm a mess.
I love that point though, right? Because yeah, you're rich to some people, you're poor to some people.
Yes.
No matter where you are.
Yes.
Yes. Pretty much going to be the case.
Yeah. There are some groups where I am aware that I have more financial ease. And there are other groups where I'm like, no, I probably earn the least of anybody who's here. It's like, yeah. And I think if I look back at what has helped me in that, or maybe how I have grown, because really it's been, you can imagine, constant exploring and unearthing and rethinking all of my stuff with money. I think the thing that helps me through it the most is, in a way, becoming really like selfish, or really, maybe that's not the right word, myopic. It's like, I need to really come back into myself and not be comparing to other people, because I can get to a place where I go, well, why? That other person seems to have it so much easier than me. And then I stop and go, okay, hang on a second. There are choices that I made that were values aligned that brought me to this place. And that's why my business isn't as big as that other person's business. Or why I don't have as big of a take-home pay. Oh, that was a conscious choice because I wanted to be here for my kids in some way, or, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
Or even if it's not a values, well, I guess it still is a values aligned thing, but there are times that I even will come back and go, oh, the reality is, I don't want to work as hard as that other person. I see they have this tremendous amount of success, right? Financial success. And that's cool and good for them. And then I look at all of the work that goes into that. And I'm like, oh, but I'm not willing to do that. I don't want that lifestyle. And the trade-off of that is that my income is lower, or my business is smaller. But like, it's coming back into myself, or because I'm a household of, you know, 1 income and 2 kids, and that's a family that's 2 incomes and 1 kid. Okay, it's just going to be different. And like, there's no comparing that, right? But that's not to say that it's always easy, because that's a process I have to go through repeatedly.
Right. Yeah. I think when we normalize the process, that's where things can start to feel a little bit more unstuck with the whole thing. Like, this is just what happens. Hello, the money shame.
Yes.
Where do we go from here? What's my process? What do I remind myself of? Yeah.
I think in that we have to be really honest with ourselves, right? And I know I tend to buy things, or in the past buy things when I was unhappy, or I felt stressed or anxious or out of control. And I still will find myself not needing a thing, but I'll be on the Sephora app. I sure will be. going through everything and I'm like, why am I doing this? And that's
Mhm.
what matters, right? When you take the pause and you're like,
Yeah.
why am I doing this? I'm just intent like looking to spend money
Mhm.
that doesn't align, right, with
Mhm.
my budget or
Yeah.
my minimalism. Don't want extra things that I don't really need. So what am I doing here? And then what
Mhm.
do I need to do next? And it's hard. I know I do that. I will just be looking to buy something.
What does your heart know about this, Erica? What does your heart know to be true about money?
My heart knows that I can pause, reflect, let go of those old unhealthy beliefs and heal by creating new beliefs and patterns. And I can trust that everything's gonna be okay. I'm gonna figure it out. What about
Awesome.
you, Becca?
My heart knows that the only comparison that matters is to myself. When I look at how far I have come from 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I'm so proud of all that I've learned and all that I've changed. And I hope that in the future, I just like continue learning and growing and having a healthier relationship with money. And that's what matters more than comparison to other people.
Mm.
What about you, Yolanda?
My heart knows that um, I can come back to middle ground when I feel kind of the extreme of the scarcity of like there's not enough money or the hey, who cares about money anyway? Not that I go on big spending sprees, but I notice for myself it's either like, oh, don't spend money, so it's not an issue, or you know, what's the big deal in buying this small purchase and that small purchase that ends up adding up. So when I find myself in either one of those extremes, I can hold myself gently with it and come back and remind myself that I have choice and explore that a little bit more. Thanks for bringing the conversation, Erica. Nice light conversation.
Easy, breezy topic.
Yes.
All right, friends. Good to see you all. We'll see you on the next one.
We are so excited to announce our upcoming live event. Join us online on January 19th, 2025, where we'll guide you through the sometimes shame and guilt-ridden experience of setting goals for the year. We'll have real talk about how goal setting can lead to burnout and real support for visioning a 2025 that includes real rest, connection, and play. Go to notwhatithought.com to register. We hope to see you there.